Good afternoon. Welcome to a really different way to do a show, but this is going to be awesome. Thank you for being our live studio audience, those who are there, and those who are watching this filmed. Thank you guys for taking a look at a very different show. So this is a production of Jane Austen's Emma, as imagined by this group sitting behind me. Several months ago, I was pretty much ambushed by a request to watch a PowerPoint, which was all on why Emma should be our next play. I listened, and in talking to the cast, we came up with the idea that we wanted to take this novel from 1815 and instead turn it into a reality television show. So that is exactly what you're going to see today. You are my studio audience, those who are here live, so please clap, laugh, have a good time. If you're watching this on TV, still clap and laugh, please, have a good time. We'll be with you through the screen. So once again, this is kind of cast created. One of the commercials you're going to see is completely written by one of our cast members, Haley, who I think was also kind of responsible for the PowerPoint. So this is really kind of a fun collaboration. So thank you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here, and That's Emma is filmed before a live studio audience. On the last episode of That's Emma, a wedding was held.
I now pronounce you husband and wife.
And Emma took all the credit for it.
Did you see that? It is certainly my crowning success. I am truly gifted at making matches.
Oh, brother.
And I can't just stop now. Next up, a match for our vicar, Mr. Elton!
Wait, what?
Emma Woodhouse, handsome, clever, and rich.
That's me.
With a comfortable home
Hartfield, Highbury's finest estate.
and a happy disposition.
Or Emma, a meddlesome young lady with a far greater opinion of herself than she should rightfully carry.
A devoted daughter.
The greatest friend anyone could hope for. She's alright, I guess.
One of the greatest joys of my life.
That's me.
And that's Emma.
Today is the first day for Father and I at Hartfield without Miss Taylor, my governess and companion of 16 years. She was married yesterday, and now Father and I are on our own.
Pain, agony, utter desolation. Wow!
Father seemed to be taking the change well.
Change. I despise change. Nothing good has ever come from change.
But, Father, she only moved to Randall's, half a mile away.
I'm old. I could never walk that far.
Then we will take the carriage.
That's way too far to be taking a carriage. We'll never see her again. Everyone leaves. Your sister left me. Promise you'll never leave me.
Papa, Isabella got married.
That's no excuse. Unless you got married.
You know how I feel about marriage, Father. I don't have any reason to get married. I don't need money. I have a home to take care of. I certainly don't need a job. And no man will ever adore me as much as my father. If I were to fall in love, that would be different. But I have never been in love, and I do not think I ever shall.
Unless you fall in love with the next person who walked through that door.
Good evening, friends.
Not a chance.
Mr. Knightley.
Mr. George Knightley is my brother-in-law and lives to torment me. He lives at Donwell Abbey, no relation to any other abbeys beginning with the letter D, and constantly finds fault with everything I do. Just watch.
So how was Miss Taylor's wedding?
Agony.
Who cried the most?
Papa? No, Mr. Knightley, it was pure joy, especially since it was all due to me.
To you?
Why, yes. Do you know how everyone said Mr. Weston would never marry again? Well, I made up my mind that he would marry Miss Taylor, and now it has come to be.
Don't you suppose Mr. Weston and Miss Taylor had something to do with that?
It was 4 years ago. Miss Taylor and I saw him, and it became clear to me.
Bachelor number 1 is a widowed landowner with a son in London and a cheery disposition. Meet Mr. Weston.
I like buying country estates, walks in the rain, and forever awaiting a visit from my beloved son.
Number one! I choose number one!
Well, I think they were a good pair and found each other without your interference.
Interference? I am a gifted matchmaker.
Then let me never want of a match. And Mr. Weston's son, Frank Churchill, was he as handsome as his father boasts?
Bachelor number 2 is a young man from London raised by his wealthy aunt who always has an excuse not to visit his father. Meet Frank Churchill.
His aunt was sick.
Again.
He wanted to be there,
If he truly wanted to be there, then he would have. Now, surely this little success has gotten those ideas of matchmaking out of your system?
Certainly. Just as soon as I find a match for our vicar, Mr. Elton.
Oh, let the man find for himself. You will find that meddling in the affairs of others will often lead you astray. All right, new subject. What will you do for entertainment now that Miss Taylor is wed?
Papa loved people if he could see them on his own terms, because he was a bit cautious about the weather, or large gatherings, or food. Well, really most things.
Everything will kill you.
He much preferred staying at home and letting his circle of friends visit him. Among this group were the ladies, 3 women who he would share tea time with or supper with regularly. There was Miss Bates, a middle-aged unmarried woman who was beloved by everyone in Highbury.
Oh, did I tell you, Mr. Woodhouse, Miss Woodhouse, that I got a letter from my niece, Jane Fairfax, just yesterday, which is unusual since she usually writes on a Tuesday, so imagine my surprise at getting post on an odd day out. I cannot tell you how surprised I was, but our Jane wrote the most amusing story.
My beloved might fall a bit below everyone else's, but I think a great deal of that stems from her way of speaking, which is constantly.
And then Jane took 3 sips of water. 3! Can you imagine?
The other reason might be her main topic of conversation.
My niece, Miss Jane Fairfax.
That's the one.
Jealous, are we?
That is a topic for later. I have to eat soon, and I don't want to lose my appetite.
Horse and cart?
Her mother, Mrs. Bates, was a vicar's wife and is now elderly, very sweet.
No, Mrs. Bates. I was asking if you care for apple tart.
No! I've never thrown a dart!
And quite deaf. And the third in the party was Miss Goddard, our headmistress for our boarding school for young women, who had requested to bring one of her pupils along.
Thank you so much for allowing me to bring a young lady with me. Mr. and Miss Woodhouse, this is Miss Harriet Smith. How do you do?
I knew in an instant we were to be fast friends. She was a pretty girl without any real knowledge of her family line, but with the right combination of natural grace and promise, I knew I must take her under my wing as my next project.
Tonight on Fixer Upper, we focus on renovating and refurbishing a 17-year-old Harriet Smith.
Good foundation, nicely decorated. Might be a bit vacant, but with the right touch, resale value could certainly double.
I have just been staying with my dear friend from school, Elizabeth Martin.
She wears a tartan? No, Mother. She was staying with friends. Did you know that our Miss Jane Fairfax has been staying with friends of the Campbells, and you would not believe what she did?
Papa, might I steal Miss Smith away for some conversation between young women?
Sure, just make sure it's somewhere warm. I'm starting to feel a chill in there.
But it's such a warm summer's day.
That can change in a second, you know.
Instant snow? What will they think of next?
I just returned from 2 months with the Martins, Elizabeth and her mother and her sister and her brother, Miss Martin, at Abbey Mill Farm, and they were 2 of the most wonderful months of my life. They have 2 parlors and 8 cows, and one little Welsh cow was so pretty, and I talked about it so much that Mrs. Martin said it should be my cow, and Mr. Martin went 3 miles one day to fetch me walnuts, just because I said I liked them, and he took me on moonlight walks and brought a shepherd boy in to sing for me, and he would go...
Is Mr. Martin not a married man?
No, he's only 24, silly.
Bachelor number 3 is a farmer with a bright future and obvious plans for Harriet Smith. Please welcome Robert Martin.
Hi, I like long walks with Harriet and...
No, not on my watch, farmer boy. I will not allow my protege to marry a farmer. Surely she must be a lady of property and influence. I will find her a suitable match as soon as I find a suitable match for our vicar, Mr. Elton. And Mr. Elton?
At your service.
Mr. Elton is the perfect match for Harriet. He has some wealth, a fine position, and standing in the town. Yes, this will be my greatest triumph. But first, I have to deal with Mr. Martin.
No, you say goodbye.
No, you say goodbye.
No, you say goodbye.
Let me say goodbye for you.
Hi, Miss Woodhouse, or hello, or howdy, or...
And goodbye.
Emma, did you see him? That was Mr. Robert Martin. We just had a wonderful conversation about a book he promises to read and how we're going... What?
I just thought he might be a bit closer to being handsome.
Hey!
I suppose he is rather plain.
Hey!
And I was hoping for a bit more in the way of manners and gentility.
I could have more refinement.
And managing a farm will give him precious little time for a wife.
You're always right, Emma.
I know.
But what man would I fit for?
I am glad you asked.
Bachelor number 4 is a village vicar with refined ways, respect in the town, and the Emma Woodhouse seal of approval. Please welcome Mr. Elton.
As a man of the church, I have respect, ambition, and let's face it, I'm so pretty.
Mr. Elton is pretty, Harriet Smith is pretty. This can't fail. I just needed to arrange for them to spend time together. A lot of time together. Mr. Elton could not fail to see the beauty and quality of character our Harriet possesses.
What a pleasure to spend the day with you, Mrs. Woodhouse.
And to spend the day with a lovely, available girl like Miss Smith as well.
Of course, and with Miss Smith. She is certainly a beautiful young lady.
And so delightful to talk with.
Certainly. Almost as delightful a conversationalist as yourself.
Now, I have this rose here. If you would just go and give this to Miss Smith.
As you wish.
After that, it was just a matter of creating occasions for Mr. Elton to spend time with Harriet.
Miss Smith, I have a question to ask you.
Yes, Mr. Elton?
Would you, I mean to say, could you?
Yes, Mr. Elton?
Might you have any 7s?
I do not, Mr. Elton. Go fish.
Fish? I don't know. I think I knew someone who was swallowed by a fish once.
Well, Mr. Elton, what do you think of our Miss Smith?
She is delightful, to say the least. Under your masterful touch, she is blossomed like a rose. And speaking of a rose,
She certainly is as pretty as a picture. A picture? Yes, Harriet, have you ever had your portrait painted?
Oh dear, no, never.
I would love a picture of our Miss Smith, wouldn't you, Mr. Elton?
oh, certainly. That is if you paint it, Miss Woodhouse. I would love anything you paint.
Oh, I would never be talented enough to do justice to Miss Smith's beauty.
Oh, of course you would.
Please? My arm is twisted. We will start tomorrow.
I posed for several days. I never knew how hard sitting still could be. When it was done, Emma said it needed a frame, and can you believe it? That nice Mr. Elton said he would go all the way to London to have the portrait framed. I can't believe how many exciting things are happening. And the best thing of all happened just this morning. I got a letter from Mr. Robert Martin.
My dearest Harriet. No, I suppose that sounds too forward. Miss Harriet Smith. I'm writing to you to ask for your hand in marriage. Well, not just your hand, all of you. Just a hand would be odd. But could you, in the spring, could you take my ring?
What? Married to a farmer? I have put far too much work into planning Harriet's life to have her ruin it by marrying the man she loves, being happy. I know what is right. I am Emma Woodhouse. Commercial, I need a moment.
That's Emma. We'll be back after a brief message from our sponsor.
This fall, set sail with those plucky March sisters as they take off on a country-to-country competition sure to thrill the whole family. Little Women on an Amazing Race takes the girls and one love-struck would-be suitor on a madcap journey through the fashionable parts of Europe. Watch the intrigue.
I can't wait to write the story of this voyage.
Silly Joe. Girls don't write books.
Drama.
So let me get this straight. I'm the guy, but my name is Lori. And you're the girl, and your name is Joe?
Correct. I'm sure that won't be confusing in 100 years or so.
So join the March girls.
Except for Beth. She's staying home. She's feeling a bit under the weather, but I'm sure she'll be fine soon.
Right. Sure she will. And we'll see you on Little Women on an Amazing Race.
And now, back to That's Emma.
So, Harriet has received a proposal from Mr. Robert Martin. There is no question how I have to play this. If she were to marry him, not only would my perfect match between her and Mr. Elton be ruined, but I would never be able to see my friend again. For surely I couldn't go and visit a farmer's wife. What would people think? But I can't just come out and tell her to reject the proposal, otherwise she might turn on me. I need to be at my very best.
Well, Miss Woodhouse, well, what am I to do?
In regards to the letter? Well, answer it, of course.
Yes, but how do I answer it?
Be kind. Try and let him down gently.
You mean you think I should reject his proposal?
Oh, so you are considering accepting?
I don't know what considering. Please, Miss Woodhouse, advise me.
Oh, no, I wouldn't dream of giving you advice on this matter. This is an affair of the heart.
Well,
although I would submit that hesitating on this answer often means it would just be best to refuse the proposal, especially if one could see another option, like, just to throw an out there, Mr. Elton, who would offer marriage and polite society.
Do you think Mr. Elton would really fancy me?
The same Mr. Elton who begged me to paint your portrait and then rushed to London to have it framed? I do not think it will be long before you receive a letter from him as well.
Oh, well then, I guess it would be best for me to refuse Mr. Robert Martin's proposal.
Do what you think is best. But this is what is best. I will help you write your refusal.
Yay.
So we did the right thing and refused Mr. Robert Martin, but would you believe Harriet seemed sad about it for some reason. I, however, knew I had saved her from a fate worse than death itself, being lower class. But not everyone applauded me on my heroic actions, especially Mr. Knightley, who visited Father and I soon after.
I hope you two young people will excuse me, but I'm going to try and take a walk around the garden before a breeze arises. I think I'm going to try 3 whole laps. Good morning to you both.
Be safe, Papa.
Godspeed. I have a confession to make, Miss Woodhouse.
Oh, I do hope it is something scandalous, Mr. Knightley.
It's about your latest project, Miss Smith.
Miss Smith is my dearest companion.
Oh, no need to get defensive. I just mean to say she's done very well by your attention. I was not sure your influence upon her would be a positive one, but I do think she owes you a credit. I think she has turned out for the best.
Why, Mr. Knightley, that is the closest thing to a compliment as you have ever paid me.
You're welcome. And soon your work shall bring joy to the world for my friend, Mr. Robert Martin.
That's right. He's my friend.
Your friend? Isn't his farm on your land? Doesn't that make him your tenant? That is a far cry from a friend.
Well, I do not see there needs to be a distinction between the two. At any rate, he came to the Abbey 2 nights ago to ask if I thought he was ready to marry. He is in love with your Miss Smith and sent a letter of proposal at my urging.
One lap!
I am aware of this letter, and Miss Smith sent back a letter of refusal.
She sent a... I see. At your urging?
Of course not. Of her own choice.
Oh, so I was wrong. She's an idiot.
She most certainly is not when I counseled her.
Aha! I knew you had your fingerprints upon it. And why would you not rejoice at your project's happiness?
My friend certainly deserves more than a poor farmer.
Hey, I've got this. Mr. Robert Martin is a prosperous farmer with a thriving trade who is well esteemed in the village. Your Miss Smith is a moderately attractive... Yeah. A moderately attractive young woman with no real station in life to speak of.
Two laps.
Someone is paying for her position at Miss Goddard's school. It is very possibly someone of high birth.
And also very possibly not. I'm ashamed that I encouraged my friend to send his letter, and even more ashamed that you encouraged yours to send her. Whatever you have in mind for your Smith, be advised. You've given her advice that is bound to hurt her in the end.
It is also quite possible that she could end up with a much improved station in life due to my efforts.
What is your scheming mind devising for? Wait. Did you not say you were devising a match for the vicar, Mr. Elton?
Did I say that?
It is certain to end in failure. Mr. Elton is very aware of his situation in life and is looking for a wife who will improve upon his own. I've heard him talk of a family, close friends of his sisters whose daughters each have 20,000 pounds to their credit.
Yahoo! I am quite certain that everything will end up for the best.
And I'm equally certain that you've given advice that is certain to break at least 2 hearts. Good day.
Booyah.
3 laps.
Oh, Father.
Oh, what? Too much? Am I going to die? Oh, brother.
I was Emma's governess and companion for almost all of her life, so I think I understand better than most some of her attachment to Miss Smith. Emma has had a companion in me all hours of the day since she was a small child. Naturally, when I married Mr. Weston, she needed that community again. Since Emma's resolved never to marry, a friend is just what is needed. And who knows, maybe having someone to nurture might be beneficial for Emma. At least that is what I think.
It was time to increase my efforts to pair Mr. Elton with Miss Smith. He returned with the portrait of Harriet in a lovely frame and declared,
"It is perfect. It should be hung in Hartfeld at once."
He said I'm perfect. And then came the riddle. We loved solving riddles that ended in one-word answers. Mr. Elton sent one, and once we figured it out...
I don't understand at all. The first clue seems to talk about a place where kings rule.
Court.
Oh, and monarch of the seas. I get it! Court whale!
Well, that doesn't make any sense. The monarch of the sea would be a ship. So... Harriet!
I'm the monarch of the sea.
No! Court plus ship.
Ship court! Oh! Wait, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
Oh, courtship!
Harriet, he wrote that poem in your book, the one we had been using for riddles. So you know what that means?
We solved this riddle!
Harriet, he means to court you.
Me? Are you certain, Miss Woodhouse? But he's so respected in the town, so pretty, and so... Oh. I'm going to be Mrs. Elton!
At this point, we threw ourselves into action. I invited Mr. Elton to spend more and more time at Hartfield. I even arranged for them to be alone together. In private. I thought it the perfect plan, but when I returned several moments later...
And then I had pheasant for dinner. 2 nights in a row.
How wonderful.
Maybe he's just shy. Meanwhile, Mr. Knightley was still being cross with me.
Busybody.
And apparently Mr. Martin was not taking Harriet's rejection well. But I was certain that Mr. Elton would reveal his true feelings for my Miss Smith on the evening of Mr. and Mrs. Weston's Christmas party.
Merry Christmas! Our first holiday party together here at Randall's.
Oh, Mr. Weston, our first holiday party as husband and wife.
My dear, this will be a perfect evening. What could possibly go wrong?
I'm so sick. I can't possibly go to the holiday party.
But you have to go. You are to be sat with Mr. Elton, and he is to spend the whole evening with you. My plans! What do you have to say for yourself? I informed Mr. Elton of Harriet's condition, knowing he would choose to stay with her at Miss Goddard's rather than go to the party.
She's sick? Oh, too bad. See you at Randall's. Jingle bells, jingle bells.
He was taking it better than I thought. At least his behavior wasn't as atrocious as Mr. Knightley's during the carriage ride to Randall's.
Why is it so cold outside? I may die.
It is the 24th of December, Papa.
Why don't they put Christmas Eve sometime sensible? Like August.
So I see you do not have your pet, Miss Smith, tonight.
She is ill. I had thought Mr. Elton would choose to stay with her, but he plans on joining us tonight.
Oh, then I wonder who he wishes to catch under the mistletoe.
Mr. Knightley, I do not know at all what you mean.
Only that I fear Mr. Elton is far more interested in you than your Miss Smith.
You could not be more wrong, Mr. Knightley, and by the end of the evening, one of us will be proven right.
I look forward to your admission of defeat.
And I yours, Mr. Knightley.
You don't suppose it may snow, do you?
I am just as certain that it won't snow as I'm certain that Mr. Knightley is wrong.
Then bundle up.
Welcome to Randall's.
It better not snow.
It has been warm all day, Mr. Woodhouse. Emma, my darling girl, you are looking well. I'm sorry Miss Smith is not able to join us tonight.
And I'm certain Mr. Elton will be sorry as well.
I am certain he will be.
Jingle bells, jingle bells. Oh, look. Is that mistletoe?
The usual circle of friends was in attendance.
Figgy pudding? Oh, yes, Mama. Oh, did I tell you all what my darling niece wrote in her latest letter to us? The Campbells, the friend she is staying with, they did the most remarkable thing last week.
I may be ill myself.
Are you not feeling well? I'm so sorry to hear this, Mrs. Woodhouse. I promise I'll tend to your every need and won't leave your side.
How kind of you. I had thought you might have chosen to care after Miss Smith as well.
Certainly. After the party, that is.
Jim Fizz! I have exciting news, my friends. As you all know, my son Frank, who has been living with my sister and her husband ever since he was a small child and after the death of my first wife, well, he's tried to break away on several occasions for a visit.
But not tried very hard.
And just today, his father and I received a letter from him.
He is coming to visit. He will be here within the fortnight.
How lovely!
Not yet! He isn't coming for 2 weeks.
Don't worry, you get to see me soon.
It is so pleasant having our friends here for the holiday evening.
If only our Jane Fairfax could be here.
3 deer? Where?
I echo my wife's sentiment. A happy Christmas to you all. And look, it's beginning to snow.
What snow? Call the carriages. Alert the drivers. We'll be forced to eat each other.
Dibs!
The snow is very sparse, Mr. Woodhouse, and even if it were to thicken, you would all be very welcome to stay with us at Randall's.
I'm going to die.
I'm sure we will be fine, Mr. Woodhouse, but I do think we should make our farewells. I will take your father in the first carriage. You take the second carriage. With Mr. Elton.
How thoughtful.
Isn't he, though? Merry Christmas.
Poor Miss Smith. She was hoping for the pleasure of your company this evening.
Forget about Miss Smith. I have absolutely no interest in Miss Smith. I've been praying all evening for a chance to get you alone. And Miss Woodhouse, I am madly in love with you and must have you for my own.
What? Surely you must be mistaken, Mr. Elton. I believe you may have drank too much holiday cheer and have mistaken me for Miss Harriet Smith.
No. I am not drunk, except on the elixir of your love. You've encouraged me with trips to Hartfield, all of our time we've spent together. I know you feel the same as I, so admit it, Miss Woodhouse. I am your beloved.
How might I say this properly, Mr. Elton? Stop the carriage! Mr. Daytime?
I have the results of his affection right here in this envelope, and Mr. Elton, you are not the love interest.
Wow. That was really embarrassing.
Yeah.
I think I'll get out of the carriage now and walk home alone in the snow. Good evening to you, Miss Mixed Signals.
Told you so.
You saw how she was flirting with me, right? Miss Woodhouse encouraged me, and I was encouraged. Well, now all there's left to do is either take it like a man or run off to Bath and jump into a rebound marriage with a woman who will inevitably treat me like dirt.
That's Emma. We'll return after a word from our sponsors.
Hello, happy little painters. Join us this week for the joys of painting with your host, Vincent Van Gogh.
Hello, I'm Vincent. And painting should always be a joy, since it doesn't pay the bills. What should we be painting today? Some flowers? No. Some starry nights, eh? Too hard. Some happy little trees? Let's paint by ear. Ah! Or maybe that isn't a good idea. So follow along and let's Van Gogh.
And now, back to That's Emma.
I waited until she recovered from her illness and then told Harriet about Mr. Elton. She took it well.
I will die alone and unloved with cats. Many, many cats. Why doesn't he love me? Life is over.
Relatively. I find it difficult to accept, but I cannot deny the fact that I am overcome with guilt. The grief of my friend is due to my actions, and my matchmaking is at least partly to blame. I must accept that it was foolish and wrong to take such an active part in bringing two people together. How can I make amends for what I've done? Well, there is this young lawyer in town.
I will never love again. All by myself.
Or I need to stop matchmaking and instead devote myself to the care of my dear friend.
Oh, Emma. You are the greatest friend a girl could hope for.
Otherwise, she might start thinking about Mr. Robert Martin again.
That's right, just biding my time.
Meanwhile, there was no shortage of news in the town of Highbury.
Our Jane is coming to town!
The train is coming? You clown?
No, Mother. Jane. My niece, Jane Fairfax, as you know, has been staying with the Colonel and Mrs. Campbell. Well, now that their daughter is married and moved to Ireland, they're staying with her for a season, and Jane is coming back home to us.
Ready or not.
Yay! Any other news?
My son, Frank Churchill,
oh goody,
is not coming after all.
Pity.
This did not sit well with several people in town.
My husband's son has once again found himself unable to visit, and my husband, after a brief period of sorrow, has accepted this decision. I, however, am more concerned that, can I be blunt? I'm gonna slap that little brat to next Sunday! My husband surrendered his son to his late wife's sister and her husband as a child, knowing they were better situated to raise him in society. But he is a man now! And the ingrate keeps finding excuses not to see his father. I am afraid he will just keep hurting the man I love. And I'm ready to throw down!
But Mother Weston!
Don't you mother me? Get your butt to Highbury and see your father!
I believe our Mr. Knightley also has an opinion on the matter.
How may I say this delicately? I believe the child, since his actions are not fitting to be called a man, is a self-serving, self-important fool.
But it is the Churchills, his aunt and uncle, who keep him from his father.
He is a man, and a man is always capable of doing one thing, and that's his duty. He had a duty to be at his father's wedding, and he failed in that duty. And he has a duty to visit his father. Once again, he has failed.
His aunt's health prevents him from leaving her.
His aunt's health does not prevent him from leaving her to go to fancy resorts such as Weymouth.
Oh, you just don't understand him.
And nor do you. And as I doubt he will ever find the good to make on his promises, I doubt any of us will.
I wouldn't be so sure of that.
What disaster can happen next?
I'm here. So, who is this Jane Fairfax, and why do you hate her?
Well, I'll take the first part. I'm Miss Jane Fairfax, and this is my story.
Shoot me!
My father, an infantry lieutenant, died in battle, and my mother passed of an illness not long after. So by the age of 3, I was orphaned.
The poor thing.
My aunt and grandmother took me in until I was 9. But Colonel Campbell, a highly regarded officer of some wealth, who felt he owed his life to my father, had me come and stay with him often. His daughter was near my age, and we became closer than friends. So by the time I was 9, I was asked to come to London to do my schooling and stay with them.
I think she may be the true protagonist of the story.
Hey, remember whose name is in the title?
I did find time to visit my aunt and grandmother regularly.
See? It can be done.
Amen.
Whatever.
But now, it is time for me to make my own way in the world. My father did not leave me much in the way of material wealth, and the Campbells have been nothing but generous, but can only provide for one daughter. So I was raised to be a governess, like any other educated but poor young woman.
Do you need a new best friend?
I don't think so. So the question was, why do I hate Jane Fairfax? In short, I don't hate her.
Oh, sure.
But the village always talked about her many prized qualities and how beautiful and accomplished she was. And honestly,
And Emma was jealous.
that is not true. Mostly. Since Miss Fairfax and I are similar in age, I was expected to become her friend and companion. And I hate feeling obligated to do a thing. Plus, she is polite and reserved to the point of being cold. For example, Father invited Mrs. and Miss Bates to bring Jane to Hartfield soon after she arrived.
It has been so delightful having Jane here, though she has been ill. But the house is so lively from her presence.
I want presents.
Miss Fairfax, I've heard you recently came down with an illness.
Yes, Mr. Woodhouse?
Could I ask you to possibly stay 6 feet away from me? And if you could don a mask.
Certainly, Mr. Woodhouse.
One can't be too cautious.
So, Miss Fairfax, I heard tell that you were in Weymouth recently.
Oh, yes.
And was Mr. Frank Churchill there at the same time as you?
Oh, yes.
I have heard he is quite handsome. Do you concur?
Oh, yes.
Was everybody taken with him?
Oh, yes.
Well, please elaborate. Is there anything else you can tell me about Mr. Churchill?
Oh. No.
What a delightful conversation. Do I feel a chill in the air?
A chill? Stoke the fire! Get the blanket!
Oh no, I think it's quite pleasant.
I would love some pheasants.
Could things get any worse?
I'm getting married.
Why do I even ask these questions?
I went to go visit some friends after someone broke my heart with her rejection. And who should I meet but the charming Miss Augusta Hawkins? She is far more beautiful and intelligent than other women and is so very wealthy. In your face.
I'm the future Mrs. Elton, and I approve this message.
How was I going to break this news to Harriet? Miss Smith was still very much in love with Mr. Elton, and I know she's doing nothing but sitting and pining for his love.
I saw Mr. Robert Martin.
I give up.
I was caught in the rain and dashed into Ford's shop when I saw his sister, Miss Elizabeth Martin, and then saw him. And, well, I tried not to let them know I saw him. And then he came over to me, and, well, he said such beautiful things.
Hi.
Hello, Mr. Martin.
There are puddles outside.
Oh.
Nice talking with you.
And you. I think he still has feelings for me, and I wonder if I could.
Mr. Elton is getting married.
What? But so soon. And he never loved me. And I need to start buying cats.
All right, I admit it wasn't the kindest way to distract her from Mr. Martin, but first of all, she had to know. And secondly, I must find her someone of higher position. I know I promised not to meddle, but as a true friend, I owe it to Miss Smith to focus on her happiness and to never again become distracted in that pursuit.
My son, Frank Churchill, will be here tomorrow.
What? Oh, well, I can focus on Miss Smith later. I have to get a new dress and get my hair done and...
That's Emma will return after these messages.
This world is full of depravity. I knew that before I joined the force. But in the years since, I've seen things I couldn't have even imagined. The people I've met, the crimes I have witnessed, the cases sent to me, they're all more terrible than what could be described through pen and paper. And they called my book horrifying. They said I need a partner. Haven't had one of those since the death of my dear Percy. The boss supposed it would do me good not to have such big of a burden, so that's why I'm here. After all, who knows criminals better than a criminal?
Well, I hate to break it to you, but I didn't go to jail for murder.
I can work with that.
This season on the Mary Shelley Files, things get wild. Oscar Wilde.
There's a new serial killer in town, targeting detectives. It's safe to say, none of us are going to be safe until we get to the bottom of this. Shelley, Wilde, you're on the case.
There has to be some kind of motive behind this. What would drive a person to only target detectives?
I have an idea.
Well. Long time no see.
Mary Shelley Files, Season 2 premiering this fall on the CLBR channel. And now back to our story.
Knowing how many times my dear husband has been disappointed by a promised visit from his son Frank Churchill, I was prepared for another last-minute apology and ready to kick some tail. But surprisingly...
May I introduce my son, Mr. Frank Churchill?
The name's Churchill. Frank Churchill.
Mr. Woodhouse, Miss Woodhouse, this is my son, Frank.
And this is my daughter Emma. Wait, you already know her, Mr. Weston.
But I am yet to have the pleasure. What a wonderful village and what a wonderful home you have here. It's such a pleasure to meet you, Miss Woodhouse. It's all just wonderful.
Wonderful. I know I said I would never have any romantic thoughts for myself, but wow! He has said all the right things.
My father married such a wonderful woman.
You better say that.
And talked about all the right subjects.
Parties, and writing, and books, and dancing.
And he didn't say one thing that upset me in any way. Until...
I must pay a visit to someone I met in Weymouth. I believe you know her, Miss Jane Fairfax?
Oh, isn't this all just wonderful?
Wonderful.
The next day, I took Frank back to Hartfield, and my Emma joined us for the day. I must say, for a young man who I was so predisposed to dislike, he has proved to be a perfectly charming and warm son.
I say, what a beautiful village. I should have come to see my father far sooner.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
My Aunt Churchill is often ill and never wants me far from her side, so I'm often restrained from doing that which I truly want to do.
I understand the obligations of family. My father has made it quite clear that he also has designs on my future.
Never leave me!
What is this place?
The Crown Inn. The ballroom here used to host grand dances, but that was quite a while ago.
What a glorious idea! We should host a ball, Miss Woodhouse, rent out the hall and invite the cream of Highbury.
What an idea.
Of course, that would mean hours huddled together, planning.
What an idea.
Right across the street is the Bates home. You came here yesterday, did you not?
I did indeed, but I had no idea I was here again.
How was Miss Fairfax?
Still ill, I'm afraid.
Is she a close friend?
Oh no, I know only slightly at Weymouth. That is the extent of our friendship.
Oh, and do you find her rather reserved?
So reserved.
And slightly cold?
So cold.
God, give me my blankie!
I find that I very much enjoy my time with Mr. Churchill.
Perhaps you may be a part of my family again, Miss Woodhouse.
Most of the town took to Mr. Churchill with a warmth.
He is quite a delightful man. In fact, my mother was remarking just the other day. He's a hottie.
I, however, find him just how I imagined. Just to be the silly, trifling fellow I took him for.
Hey!
Just a few days into his visit, he went all the way to London and back. For what purpose?
I needed a haircut.
16 miles each way for a haircut? I rest my case, pretty boy.
Now who's jealous?
So, before Mr. Churchill, and I could start planning a ball in earnest, there was a party held in town by a family named Cole.
We're the Coles, and besides throwing this party, you'll never hear from us again. So, woo! Party!
Everyone was going to be there, so I had to attend. And that is where the mystery begins. I was rather surprised to find that Mr. Knightley had arrived before me. You see, he never uses his carriage, except on long journeys. He always walks. But he did use it that night. Clue number 1. Clue number 2 came from a mysterious gift.
It was the most amazing thing. Our dear Jane Fairfax loves to play the piano so dearly and is so musical and talented. I found myself saying just the other day that, if my mother and I could afford even the smallest instrument for our dear Jane, how wonderful and full of music our home would be. And then, what is delivered to our home but a beautiful piano? You have never seen anything as wonderful as this piano. And
Whoever sent it?
Oh, I don't know. There was no note of any kind.
Then it must not be a good piano. If it can't produce a note.
It was very nice.
I have gossip.
Dish, who sent Jane a piano? Was it the Campbells? A friend's husband? A secret admirer?
I am leaning towards the latter. I do know that the same gentleman who brought a carriage to drive the Bates women and Mrs. Fairfax home also knew that she wanted a piano and could easily afford the gift.
But you don't mean...
Perhaps our Mr. Knightley is not the ardent bachelor we all presumed him to be.
Our Mr. Knightley and Jane Fairfax. It can't be.
I also know that a certain son of my husband's might have eyes for another young woman here this evening.
Miss Woodhouse, if this evening ends in dancing, would you please save me the first of your dances?
I will do just that, Mr. Churchill.
Ooh. With all this talk of music, let us hear some.
Oh, luckily I brought some music. Mrs. Colt, would you mind if I played your lovely piano?
Of course, dear. Just forget we're even here. And Miss Fairfax, after all, we know you are musical.
Oh, if you all want me to.
Oh, a pity you did not bring music.
I have a few simple songs committed to memory.
Now we simply must have singing. Maybe some of those newer songs you young people enjoy.
Have you perhaps heard of a diss track? It's all the rage in London. Ladies, have a go at this.
Jane.
Emma?
Yo, I am the Emma Dub, and I'll take you to school. I don't put up with bad manners, and I pity this fool. When you gonna see that between you and me, I work harder and I'm smarter than you ever will be. You're kinda pretty, not so witty, and you play a bit, but real dominion takes opinions, and that's where you quit. So keep on posing like a queen, cause I'm cold taking this crown. You may have made a few friends, but I done rule this town.
I've heard that style of song in London. I believe I shall try my hand at it as well. Oh, my poor Emma, your dilemma makes me want to snooze. You think you're everybody's prize, but you're just last week's news. You think you're some matchmaking wizard because you got one right, but you're a phony and you're going home alone tonight. Now, I'll admit I may be quiet and a lot more poised, but you'll see it works for me because I get the boys to go be great on your estate because that's where you belong. I'll be out owning the world just like I own this song.
Represent, Jay Dizzle.
I want to try as well. Give me... My name is Harriet. And I drive a chariot.
Woo!
And I'll never marry. So, yeah.
Woo!
That was entertaining. Now, I believe we're in need of a dance or two.
Harriet, dance with me.
Security! As he promised, Frank Churchill danced with me, but we only danced 2 dances before it was decided it was getting too late.
Curfew! Everyone needs their sleep. Staying up too late leads to death.
But Mr. Churchill said the most wicked thing to me as the party ended.
I guess it's all for the best. If the party went on any longer, I would have been forced to dance with Miss Fairfax, and who would want that?
Oh no, that would have been awful. I think I'll go home and play my piano now.
So, have you solved the mystery of who sent Jane a piano? Was it the Campbells? Was it Mr. Knightley?
I am not certain, but whoever sent it to her must truly care for Miss Fairfax.
Your carriage awaits.
The evening at the Coles started events into motion. For one thing, it stirred up my dear Miss Harriet Smith.
I spoke to the Cox family at the and they have this daughter, Amy, and she's around my age and she went and stayed with Elizabeth Martin at Abbey Mill Farm, and now there is talk that she and Mr. Robert Martin could be engaged, and Amy shall be married and I shall be alone and Mr. didn't love me
My poor Miss Smith, everything will be all right in the end. I promise to turn all of my attention to you and your feelings, and I promise.
We need more dancing! Let's do a ball, Miss Woodhouse.
Just as soon as I plan a ball.
Yay! So, now Emma and Frank Churchill are planning a ball at the Crown. I don't know if I will have a gentleman to dance with. Do you know where to get a cat?
We shall rent out the hall and do it up right.
A wonderful idea, Mr. Churchill.
And you shall save me your first 2 dances.
A truly wonderful idea, Mr. Churchill.
Did you hear that, Mrs. Weston?
I did indeed, Mr. Weston. Oh, Emma, I believe that Mr. Churchill will soon be asking you for more than just a dance.
Mrs. Frank Churchill. Now, I do admire Frank, and his haircut is quite becoming.
Worth it.
But I have always sworn I had no interest in romance for myself. Mr. Knightley and I often laughed about that. And also, how could I marry and leave Papa? No. When he asks me, I must refuse. Even though he is so pretty. But I am strong, and I do not need a man. But he is so pretty! Oh, well, I still have time before I have to think about such things. After all, there is the ball, and then after that...
The ball is canceled.
What?
Mr. Churchill's aunt has taken ill and requests his presence immediately. He is saying his goodbyes around town and should be here any minute.
Miss Woodhouse, I must leave, but
Yes?
before I go,
Yes, Mr. Churchill?
there's something I need to tell you. Alone. I'm sure you've had your suspicions, but I need to tell you what is truly in my heart.
Yes, Mr. Churchill?
You need to know that.
Frank, it's time to go.
I'm afraid we'll need to wait to continue our talk. Hopefully, I'll see you again soon.
Yes. Hopefully.
Cat?
That's Emma. We'll be back in a moment.
Do you ever feel like just getting out into nature for a light day of fishing?
Gee, I sure have.
Then come out with a sail with me, Captain Ahab, as we sail the Pequod in search of the catch of the day.
Rainbow trout?
How do you feel about whales?
How much does it cost to fish with you?
Oh, just an arm and a leg. So come out with your old friend Ahab.
And you can call me Ishmael.
As we search for bloody, never-ending revenge. Or just a good time that certainly won't end badly. See you next time on Fishing the High Seas.
We'll be back in time for dinner, right?
Sure, my boy. 'Tis only a 3-hour tour.
And now, back to That's Emma.
Now that Mr. Churchill has left, things can get back to normal, and I can keep trying to get over the loss of Mr. Elton. At least there is nothing here to remind me of him.
I'm back! And you simply must meet Mrs. Elton.
Charmed, I'm sure. Miss Augusta Hawkins. Oh my, I do mean Mrs. Elton. Oh, would you look at this little town? How quaint. It is just like a real town, only in miniature. It will be so delightful to get used to life among the less fashionable. I simply must get my husband to introduce me to all the best people in town. That should fill almost half an hour.
May I introduce my wife, Mrs. Elton?
This is such a
A delightful little estate, Miss Woodhouse. It so reminds me of Maple Grove, our estate in Bath. Doesn't it remind you of Maple Grove, dear husband?
Well, my dear, since we've only visited briefly.
Yes, dear husband. The answer is yes. Men, they just can't simply answer the question, but the answer is yes. Of course, your Hartfield is much smaller than Maple Grove, but there are so many things that remind me of Maple Grove. For example, your staircase is exactly where the staircase at Maple Grove is in relation to the door. And your bench outside is so like the bench at Maple Grove, only smaller, of course. I tell you, when you are forced to move, as I have been, you'll long for the places that remind you of home like Maple Grove. And that is exactly what your delightful little estate reminds me of. I shall always think of it as a miniature Maple Grove.
How delightful.
Well, we must keep visiting. Up, husband.
Yes, dear.
We have been calling on all the truly fashionable families, but I'm afraid there aren't many in our sphere. We did visit the Westons, though, and I was so surprised that Mrs. Weston seemed to have manners since she was only a governess before her marriage.
Oh, no, she didn't.
Well, my dear, she was Miss Woodhouse's governess.
Oh, well, instead of teaching manners, she must have gained some from her pupil. Well, ta-ta, and goodbye, miniature Maple Grove. I'm sure we'll be seeing so much more of each other.
Not if I can help it. Insufferable woman, she imagines she'd be my bosom friend. I cannot imagine any poor soul she would actually find to serve as her companion.
Oh, Miss Fairfax, I am so delighted to have met you. You're simply the most beautiful and charming woman in the village, and you shall be my my friend.
Thank you, Mrs. Elton, for your kind attention.
Have I told you about Maple Grove? Come, Mr. Elton!
Yes, dear.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I feel sorry for Jane Fairfax. That horrid Mrs. Elton is going on about setting her up in a governess position or even finding her a husband. And I do believe she has her sights set on a dear friend of mine who desperately needs to be warned.
So how are you finding the new vicar's wife, Mrs. Elton?
I don't believe I'm looking for her.
She is an acquired taste I shall not be laboring to acquire.
But why would Jane Fairfax choose to spend her days in the company of that tiring, overbearing woman?
Well, what other choice does she have? Which other woman of her age or position has paid her friendship or attention?
Oh. Well, there is a different type of attention I wish to speak to you about concerning the lovely Miss Fairfax. I know you think highly of her.
Yes, I always have.
But how highly? There is talk in the village that you...
Miss Woodhouse, you are sorely behind on the times. That gossip has been swirling for nearly 6 weeks now, and I can promise you, Miss Fairfax has no interest in me, nor I in her. She's far too civil and quiet, and if I were to wed, it would be someone with a lot more fight in them than Miss Fairfax. I think my wife would need to have an attitude similar to my own. Were you hoping to claim this as another one of your matchmaking victories?
I was just simply concerned for your happiness.
Then shall we talk of rumors of another kind? Mr. Churchill, it is said he will be back in town any day now. Does a certain pretty young man have our young lady's heart?
I do admire Mr. Churchill, but I do not know if my mind is made up on that matter. However, if we decide to hold our ball again, I do hope he has the first 2 dances saved for me. And then shall I wait for your dances, Mr. Knightley?
Oh, it'll be a long wait, I'm afraid. Dancing is a pastime I will gladly leave for the others.
My aunt's health is still in decline, but she has decided to move to a house so close to Highbury that I can spend almost as much time as I wish with my father and friends. Emma and I planned our ball, and before you knew it, held the grandest ball Highbury had seen in ages.
Oh, Miss Woodhouse.
Oh, it is lovely. And Emma, you shall be the belle of the ball. You should lead the first dance.
Of course, you and my Frank will be the first couple of the dance.
Party! My, this is so elegant, and I'm so thankful you invited us. What a wonderful evening. How wonderful everyone looks.
There's far too many windows here. We may all die.
Oh, look, Jane, she looks all right.
Well, I think she looks quite lovely. Be nice.
It is the most elegant party I have ever been invited to, but I wonder if I will have to see the Eltons, who you know are...
And now the evening can begin properly. The Eltons are here!
Yes, dear.
Oh, look, the punch bowl.
What a lovely gesture. I knew that you threw this ball in my honor, and I accept the honor, and will be leading the dancing as part of the first couple of the ball.
But Emma and Frank...
No problem.
And, of course, it would never do for a married woman to dance with her own husband in public. Mr. Churchill, will you be my partner?
Actually, Mrs. Elton, let me escort you, one old married person to another.
Way to bite the bullet, hubby.
And then we'll have our dances before I have to dance with Jane out of obligation.
I noticed that the only young woman not paired up and enjoying the dancing was Miss Harriet Smith, so I attempted to intervene. Mr. Elton, do you still dance?
Well, of course, Mrs. Weston. Shall we?
Actually, I was asking for Miss Smith. She is without a partner.
No, sorry. I forgot. I have to go do something.
I saw Mr. Elton's rejection and was just leaving the dance floor to go to her when something wonderful happened. My Mr. Knightley, who has always said he never danced in public, saved the day.
Miss Smith, may I have the pleasure of this dance?
Of course.
My hero. And not only did Mr. Elton look like a fool, but Harriet never gave him another warm thought.
Does anyone want to dance with me?
Look at me dancing! Mr. Elton! Applaud for me!
Yes, dear.
Thank you for your kindness to Miss Smith.
Miss Smith may not have the money or the status of Miss Elton, but she is twice the person either of the Eltons will ever be.
But I thought you didn't dance.
I only needed the right motivation.
Well, shall I motivate you for another?
Lead the way, Miss Woodhouse.
That's Emma. We'll return after these messages.
This week on Modern Science, meet Dr. Henry Jekyll.
Good evening.
Dr. Jekyll has been trying to unlock the secrets of the human mind.
Imagine if we could separate all of our bad qualities and be only good.
But Dr. Jekyll, what if you created a creature of pure evil?
Oh, there's no chance of that happening. After all, I have a thick hide. Hide. How does that word sound so familiar? Intriguing. Hide.
So join Dr. Jekyll on a scientific odyssey of epic proportions.
What's the worst that could happen?
And now, the exciting conclusion of today's episode of That's Emma.
Help! After the ball, Harriet was attacked by... Well, I find the term that I was about to use is a bit derogative in referring to an ethnic minority. So, for the sake of our tale, Harriet was attacked by chairs.
Where are you going, pretty lady?
Give me some money for a slip cover.
Hey, little girl, aren't you happy and full of good cheer?
Help!
Get back, chairs. I think this discussion is tabled.
Okay, back to IKEA.
Are you okay? It was so frightening, and Mr. Churchill saved me.
No man of breeding would ever leave a young woman in danger.
I am so glad you are all right.
Sorry to have to save and run, but I have a prior engagement.
Miss Woodhouse, I have a confession. You know I had been in love with Mr. Elton,
and I still feel that is largely my fault.
Oh, no, it is my own fault. But I am again in love with someone far from the station. Do you fault me?
Of course not. You don't know that your father isn't a gentleman, so you may very well be justified in loving a gentleman. Who is it?
I do not want to speak his name yet, but he is certainly a gentleman and has just done me a great kindness.
I understand, and I think it's wonderful.
You do? And you think it's wonderful?
Harriet is in love with Frank Churchill! He saved her. She loves him. Perfect! I enjoy his attentions. I do not feel I could ever marry Frank, so why not match him with Harriet? Emma Woodhouse is back in the matchmaking business.
What? All of the mementos I saved from Mr. Elton and eat ice cream?
You're on.
Oh, it is so delightful to be the main character again. I cannot believe how much good I have done in this little village. The ball held in my honor was a social event of the season, and I have been invited to every good home in town, although have had to remind several of the families that they wanted to invite me. My husband dotes on me. Don't you, dear?
Yes, dear. Whatever you say is right.
There is just one fine estate I have not been invited to, and that is Mr. Knightley's Donwell Abbey.
Want some tea?
Yes, please.
It is certainly the finest home in the county. And look, there he is, Mr. Knightley.
Mrs. Elton.
We simply must have a party at your estate. I will arrange it all and invite all the guests.
Oh, you are very welcome, but the only woman I would ever allow to make an arrangement at my estate is Mrs. Knightley. And as she does not exist, I will make the arrangements.
So, with my assistance, a party was set for Donwell Abbey. It was the usual people.
I do love Donwell Abbey. It's simply one of the greatest moments of my life. Isn't it lovely, Mother?
I wish it was that other Abbey.
Is there somewhere in the shade to my son could kill you, you know?
Miss Fairfax, you will not believe how lucky you are to have me as a friend. Mrs. Suckling at Maple Grove had a friend in need of a governess, and I gave them your information. It is the perfect opportunity.
Thank you, Mrs. Elton, for your kind attention. Is Frank Churchill going to be here?
He is late, as always, but I'm sure he will be here. Miss Smith, would you walk with me?
Gladly.
It was a most unusual day. Mr. Knightley spent a great deal of time with Harriet, which was odd. I saw them looking over the Martin farm.
I'm still here. Remember me?
And then Miss Fairfax left suddenly.
I'm walking home. Please give my apologies.
And once Frank finally arrived, he was in an odd mood.
I think I'll leave England and go abroad. I hear they love the British in America.
I was able to talk Frank into a better mood, and we set a trip to Box Hill for all of us the next day. But there, it went from bad to worse. I tried to give Mr. Churchill and Harriet time alone together so that they might fall in love, but that was a dreadful failure.
This is a nice day.
Yes?
I like days. Do you like days?
Yes.
And then came that horrible game.
Let's play a game.
Delightful.
Not the contact game. 6 feet. 6 feet.
Let's all go around and say one very clever thing, or 2 things moderately clever, or 3 very stupid things.
How fun. I am in trouble then, for I can say 3 stupid things as soon as I open my mouth.
Your trouble, Miss Bates, will be limiting the stupid things you say to only 3 at once.
Oh, snap. Oh. I am sorry if I offended you, Miss Woodhouse. I guess I should just stay quiet and go over there.
Miss Woodhouse, a word. Emma Woodhouse, how could you?
It was only a joke.
One that was meant to sting and harm, and it found its target. You embarrassed her in front of her niece at the party. You need to make things right. Let us all leave Miss Woodhouse with her thoughts.
I was meaning to be witty and instead was cruel. And I've turned into this sort of entitled woman I have always detested. I've turned into... Yahoo! I must do better. I can do better. I never want Mr. Knightley to speak to me as he did that day again. I cried all night, and now I'm off to the Bates home to apologize. Hi.
We don't want any. Mother, it is only Miss Woodhouse.
Like I said, I first want to say I was never meaning to be cruel to you.
Oh, it is so kind of you to care. It was just a little thing and...
No, it was not. And I am deeply sorry.
Aren't you the most wonderful young woman for caring about an old woman like me? I hope you'll still visit when our Jane leaves us.
Jane is leaving?
Oh, yes, she has accepted the governess position Mrs. Elton has arranged and will be leaving soon, but now is not well. Miss Woodhouse is here, dear.
I'm sick and I can't come out.
We will miss her so. We need to find something to do with her piano, as a governess cannot be bringing anything like that with her.
Well, I will send up a care package to help her feel better.
Aren't you such a good friend to us all?
No, but I intend to be. News abounded in the village.
I'm going to London, and I do not know when I will return.
Frank Churchill's aunt has died, and he is heir to her estate.
I wish I was still single.
And finally, the big news.
Oh, Emma, I am so heartbroken, for I know you are in love with him, but Frank Churchill has just announced the most shocking thing.
I've been secretly engaged to Miss Jane Fairfax all of this time.
Sorry, what?
We met at Weymouth and fell in love, but he was not free to announce an engagement to someone of a lower station, not while he was under his aunt's control.
So I came up with a plan to make it seem like I was flirting with Miss Woodhouse, so no one would suspect it was Jane whom I loved.
I'm sorry. What?
But it was harder and harder for me to see Frank with Emma, which is why I was so short with you, Emma. I'm sorry.
All good.
So Jane broke up with me, as it seemed I would have to keep on pretending to love someone else. But then my aunt died, so I'm now free to do as I want, and I want to have Jane as my wife.
I'm so sorry, Emma. I knew you were set on Frank.
Actually, I wasn't. But how will Harriet handle another rejection?
I'm good, Miss Woodhouse. It is not Miss Churchill I love.
But you said you loved a gentleman who did you a great service.
I do. Mr. Knightley. Remember when he came to my rescue at the ball and danced with me? I know he is above my station, but do you know anyone else who loves him?
I do. Wait, what? I am in love with Mr. George Knightley.
Voted off the island again? Really? Here, kitty, kitty, kitty.
Hello, Emma.
Mr. Knightley, you went to London so suddenly.
I believed you in love with Mr. Frank Churchill.
I never was.
Oh?
So?
I cannot make speeches, Emma. If I loved you any less, I may be able to talk about it more, but you understand me and you understand my feelings, and return them if you can. So I ask only once. I ask to hear your voice.
Oh, Mr. Knightley. But if I marry you, what will happen to Harriet?
I've got this. First of all, I found out my father is a tradesman. I'm not upper class, which means my husband does not need to be either. So that means...
Robert Martin wins after all.
That's my friend.
Mr. Knightley sent him to me on an errand, and when we were together again...
Booyah!
Who is the matchmaker now?
Oh, well, it worked, did it not? Look at all these happy couples.
Somebody save me.
And who finally found love in the end?
That's me.